cycles of hibernation is a known universal constant. It's true. Just look around. Every creature on every planet hibernates in one way, shape, or form. From the great giants of Lysara to the small minnows of Wubulin. Every creature hibernates, and their cycles seem to always match up with a universal constant we have yet to truly understand. This allows the galaxy to rest and recuperate. It allows for the reshuffling of stars, planets, and asteroids. It allows for a cosmic reset before we start over. Naturally, as civilized beings, we are able to cheat the system somewhat, making sure our technology survived each and every cycle, sleeping through in the comfort of great bunkers, hollowed-out asteroids, or even self-repairing ships adrift in dark space. Of course, this method isn't perfect. Some losses are to be expected, but overall we've kept our culture mostly intact for the past 200 million years. We've regrettably lost a lot along the way, but that is merely the nature of things. Entropy takes hold eventually. We can only cheat the system so much. A sleep-wake cycle generally consists of a waking period of 1,000 to 100,000 years, and a sleep cycle of anywhere from 500 to 25 million years. This is considering the most extreme of the two polar opposites, of course. A general average would be in the ballpark of 500,000 to 15 million years. This innately unreliable time frame is what prevents us from effectively making preparations that could tolerate the extreme variations in hibernated periods. But as a general rule of thumb, the shorter the cycle you wake up from, the longer the next one will be. Sometimes, if you have several shorter cycles in rapid succession, you rack up deficit, resulting in an ultra-long sleep cycle. Few survive this, but our species, our civilization perseveres. But about 100 million years ago, we started to notice something strange, an anomaly in a neighboring galaxy which we had just barely explored. One of these worlds, the third world from a rather hospitable yellow sun, bore life, but not in the manner we had expected. Genetic testing revealed a distinct lack of the hibernation gene. This would imply that life on this world would eat itself out of existence in the span of a few hibernation cycles. We could do nothing for them, and so, as a lull of hibernation called for us, the scientists above this world we dubbed Aluris, what we would later know as Earth, expected the ecosystems of this world to die off once we awoke. This hibernation cycle lasted for approximately 10 million years, and what we saw was unexpected. Life hadn't just continued. It seemed to grow, prospering, diversifying. We'd logged millions of unique species prior to our hibernation. Yet when we woke, it didn't decrease, but instead increased. We'd expected at least some hint of decline, but what we saw proved to be the exact opposite. A decision was made to carefully observe the world until the next cycle. This phenomenon was rare, incredibly so, but not unheard of, so we would weather the storm and see how the situation developed. The next hibernation cycle lasted for yet another 10 million years, and we awoke to see much of the same. Some declines did occur, but they were never permanent. They were always a result of distinct geological or climatological phenomena, and never the fault of malignant species overexpression. Again, this wasn't truly unheard of. We'd previously accounted for a total of 4 such instances where non-hibernating ecosystems had survived for a total of 5 hibernation cycles. Never beyond 5, however, and with each successive cycle, there's always a marked decline in biodiversity. So it was decided to wait another 3 cycles, to ascertain if a decline is noted, to determine if life on this planet coincided with our models. 65 million BC. As the 5th cycle came and went, life had remained as it has always been on this planet, plentiful, vibrant, and constantly evolving. It was decided then that the planet was an aberration. Waiting might result in the development of an intelligent sapient species that could potentially reach the space age without the natural call of hibernation holding them back. Such a terrifying prospect was not something we wanted to deal with. So, with a confirmation that no such sapient life yet existed, a decision was made to terminate the ecosystem on the grounds of suspected ecological malignancy. A suitable asteroid was found and targeted at the planet. And so, approximately 65 million years ago, we ended all life on Aluris. It was struck from the registry, declared a quarantine zone, and that was that. Or so we had assumed. You see, our civilization has a way of forgetting things. As stated previously, the process of data keeping is difficult when considering the timescales we're working on. As a result, after approximately 10 or so cycles, even that knowledge was put in question as a result of the Great Cycle Failure, whereby a disturbingly long cycle, one lasting 30 million years, resulted in a massive loss of most of our records prior to that point. We rediscovered Aluris, and it was certainly not dead. Equals 150,000 BC. Approximately 152,000 years ago, we discovered a planet full of life dominated by mammalians. A strange impact crater was noted, alongside evidence of a bygone space station, clearly designed by our forebears. We put 2 and 2 together, and alongside the broken remains of our records, ascertained that there might have been some great accident here. We would never deliberately destroy a viable ecosystem. We'd monitor it first to see if it was truly malicious or not. And so, without knowledge of our prior studies or the prior decisions we took, we established another scientific outpost and watched. We noted the development of a few promising creatures that may have the potential for sapience. 1 aquatic mammalian, 1 avian, and 1 terrestrial mammalian. The former was our best bet for sapience, given its advanced communication abilities, but it remained to be seen at that point. And so we waited, as we noted the terrestrial mammalians had indeed already discovered and had somewhat mastered fire. The race was on for sapience, as we rediscovered the planet's aberrant genetic makeup. But as the lull of hibernation loomed once more over us, we slept and dreamed of what was to come of this world. 50,000 BC. We awoke some 52,000 years ago, and at this point it was clear who had won the race for sapiency. What we would now know as the humans, then Allurians, after the name we had given to their planet, had now properly mastered not just fire, but primitive stonework and tool-making. They were still largely nomadic. Civilization hadn't sprung up, but the seeds for civilization were there. However, this wasn't the only alarming discovery we made. The genetic aberrancy we had noted was indeed correct. Yet, that wasn't the end of it. What should have been a natural decline in the biodiversity of the planet from a runaway ecosystem did not happen as well. This, coupled with the emergence of a sapient species, meant that something had to be done. Yet, as we understood, the circumstances may lead to their demise anyways. It wasn't in our moral conscience to just kill off sapients on this large of a scale. Plants and animals, sure, but sapients were a different matter entirely. But a line had to be drawn somewhere. So it was decided to wait once more, wait another 3 hibernative cycles before acting on our fears. And so, after a short wake cycle, we slept once more, hoping, praying that the problem went away. For 1000 BC, we awoke approximately 7,000 years ago and were greeted not with our prayers having been answered, but with the humans now developing into an organized, cohesive force. Beyond this, we soon realized something else that was truly bizarre. We'd logged and tagged certain humans during the previous cycle. We'd assumed the eldest we'd logged would survive to become great leaders and figures of importance in this cycle. Yet when we scanned for them, all we saw were bones and burial sites. Further carbon dating revealed they had died barely 55 years after we had tagged them. This was unbelievable, yet it was the truth. The humans and other creatures of this world, they had an accelerated lifespan in addition to their inability to hibernate. New theories were thrown and proposed at this point. The humans, no, all life on Aluris could be based on a whole other model of organic life we had not yet conceived of. For instead of permanent cell regeneration and hibernation limiting that expansion, this system was self-limiting in a far crueler and sadistic fashion. It killed them en masse, not by the millennia, or even by the century, but by the decade. It was a horrific world of death. A death world, one could say, and it disturbed us to our very core. Centuries of analysis were made in order to verify this. The home world and central governments of our species, along with many others, simply refused to verify these claims. How could they, when all the evidence across every other world pointed against this conclusion? There was no other system or mechanism for life. There was no other model. How could a new model emerge after 200 million years? Our elders flat out refused it, and so the motion was to continue observing Illuris. They would not listen to us, the scientific revisionists, to rewrite basic biology and ecology, but by that same logic, they thankfully would not listen to the radical purifiers, who believed our conclusions but derived from it a genocidal impetus to end all life on Illuris on the grounds of unprecedented ecological malignancy. Both of our parties were silenced, for now, and as the millennium drew to a close, what the next cycle had in store for us would make or break the very fabric of our civilization. Equals. 2379 A.D. We awoke 1,000 years ago to see humanity had developed far beyond our wildest expectations. What had been a species hauling stones, constructing small huts when we slept, now held a burgeoning interstellar empire under its vice grip. It was fortunate that our observation posts had been removed from Earth at the end of the previous cycle under direct orders from the elders, for if we had still been in orbit, I shudder at the thought of what might have occurred. But all was not well back home. For the revelation of humanity's breaching of not just its world's confines, but that of its solar systems, coupled with its rough mastery of warp travel, was beyond comprehension to the likes of the general public. The Council of Elders, wise beyond their years, was likewise mystified. We once more proposed our theory. We even proposed initiating first contact, since they were now a spacefaring civilization, warp-capable to boot. But the Elders denied us. When pressed on a matter of what was the next step forward, they conferred deliberation, but with each passing moment of indecision, the power of the radical purifiers only grew. In addition to all this, the fact that our previous sleep cycles had been in the dangerous deficit range meant that the next cycle could be another short one or an extended cycle. With humanity's threat looming around the corner, another extended cycle would mean assured extinction at their rate of expansion. Even a short hibernation cycle might see them crossing the galactic void and expanding into our territories. What's more, the innate fear from dying in a hyperlong cycle intensified the human paranoia. Because an extended cycle is anything but pleasant, it meant assured death for at least 2 in 5 Vanarans. It meant the assured destruction of at least half, if not more, of our archives and records. It meant the dead wakening of another 1 in 5 Vanarans, a horrible condition where you wake in a body that had long since petrified. You are trapped as a mind without form, eyes incapable of even opening as the last of your fat reserves are drained to fuel your ever-terrified mind, extending its slow, grueling death. What's worse, since the life signs on most of the dead woken are barely discernible from the actual dead, most are left as they are in confusion of the immediate post-wakening. Only 2 in 5 remains. And from there, the long road to rebuilding ensures millennia of pain and suffering. This fear-fueled support for the radical purifiers. Support for our ranks grew as well, but given we had neither a plan of action and a firm policy base, we were pushed aside. Humanity's very presence, it would seem, was a sickness to our continued peace. Our careful peace, sustained for 200 million years, finally broke under this pressure by the detonation of a single bomb in the elders' chambers. Most of them perished. The few that survived struggled to adapt quick enough to the developing situation, but still managed to pull through. The ensuing Vanaran civil war had led to the deaths of countless billions and the destruction of nearly the entirety of our industrial capacity. It lasted for a total of 1,000 years, and by the end of it we were so woefully underprepared. I don't know what happened to the rest of my kin, but I retreated into my family's personal hibernation asteroid. It had served us well for the past 92 million years. Yet I knew that a hypersleep of this magnitude meant I could expect little help from the outside when I woke, if any help was coming at all. 3,392 AD. Then came the call of hibernation, and it felt heavy and foggy. A hypersleep was assured. So I lay alone in my hibernation chamber, as I knew not what was to come. I could not move. I could barely breathe. The coming of hibernation was certain, but I had made no preparations. Indeed, my entire civilization had made little in the way of preparations. The war had consumed us all, and we had nothing to show for the next cycle. And on this day, as I finished the summation of all accounts of the human incident, This date shall henceforth be known as year 0. Whatever comes next, I do not know. As my eyes began to close, my heart accepting the fate we doomed ourselves to, I heard a sudden clang, followed by another and another, and a successive series of depressurization seals being released before a flurry of footsteps came marching through. My half-lidded eyes could do nothing as I knew this was it. Whatever this was, be it the purest automated armies or the humans' forces, I was doomed either way. Secure the perimeter. Make sure we got the right chamber. Yes, sir. I heard voices, human voices. It was over. I forced myself to stay awake as I saw a suited human approaching, wearing what seemed to be a cross between light armor and a dress uniform. I felt its hand touching my own as I attempted to pull away, but had neither the strength nor the mental fortitude to. Hey, don't be afraid. We come in peace. God damn, I knew he'd fucking say it. $10, Mitchell. What? WH dash, whatever T-trick airy. Didja, let it be done. I managed out. No tricks, no games, nothing. Look, we don't have much time, so I'll get right to it. We understand what you're going through, and we want to help. Help. Listen, there's not a lot of time, so I'll keep it short. We know why you're this way. We know why the whole fucking galactic cluster is this way. We know who did this, and we're out to get them. But until then, you sit tight, all right? My mind had begun to wander at this point, meandering between the waking and sleeping world. We'll watch over you while you sleep. You don't have to be afraid anymore. You don't have to fear whether or not you get to wake up. You don't have to fear losing anything. Because humanity will be here, keeping watch. We'll be here, no matter how long it takes. I felt his hand squeezing mine as I drifted off into a dreamless slumber. A flash of light blinded me. I tried to blink, but I could not feel my eyelids. I tried to move, but I couldn't even feel my arms or legs, or my body for that matter. The sinking realization of what could be happening raced through my mindscape as I struggled with every fiber of my being, but I still could not move. This couldn't be. The human had promised, hadn't he? Had I actually dead woken? No, I couldn't have, surely. Hello? Hello? Testing. Testing 1, 2. Can you hear me? Yes, I'm here. Please help me. Testing. Testing 3, 4. If you can hear me, say something. For elders' sakes, I'm right here, please. Please don't leave me. All right, that's what I feared. Damn it, Mitchell. What? His brain activities, what? Okay, that works. Hey, just strange request. Panic for us again, will you? What are you, Dash? Okay, that's enough. All right. So, I knew this would happen. Vanaran, I assume you can recognize my voice. Right, sorry you can't talk. All right, gotta get used to that. Vanaran, I'm the human you met just before you went into hibernation. I don't see your name on the hibernation station's records here. Must be a cultural thing. So I'll tell you mine while we get you reoriented, okay? I could feel my mind calming. I did not know how or why, but I began feeling more lucid and less panicked, even without my body, even in this strange, ethereal state. I began to feel myself reaching a point where I could at least feel somewhat functional. I'm First Lieutenant Elijah Skylar Banes, Task Element Blue Delta, 52nd Special Operations Task Unit, 4th Special Task Group, 5th Fleet. I'm responsible for any and all interactions with the hibernative subject of Hibernation Convoy 27A. That's what we call your asteroid. Now, you may be confused and disoriented. That's perfectly normal. Let's just say that's the new normal for the foreseeable future. Because we're trying several new techniques to work around your species' inherent limitations. In addition to providing you updates on the front and how things are progressing. This amongst many other points of study. But all in all, I can't bear to see you sleeping while we continue marching forward. This is as much your story as it is humanity's. Let's start with the basics. We're projecting this interaction directly into your neural pathways, rousing you up from hibernative unconsciousness to a limited extent, hence why you don't feel or see your body, or at least that's what I'm assuming to be the case. I attempted to nod, to say yes, to affirm this in some way, but it was clear communication was going to be rather one-directional at this point. You're in a near dreamlike state, but lucid. That's all we can do for you right now. But it beats sleeping, right? Right. Let me get you up to speed. It's been a little over 5 years since we last met. And right now, a lot of data is coming in that's corroborating our little theory, the grand interference theory, as most now call it. It's subtle, but we're seeing some distinct changes in the cosmic background radiation from this side of the galactic cluster. We think it may be from the perpetrators I told you about earlier. Now, that's just speculation, and we haven't actually gathered any hard evidence on their existence, but from the remains of your elders' homeworld, there's evidence leading us to believe in some nasty involvement from these guys. What's that, Mitchell? Oh, fuck, okay. Right, I have to go now. I don't know how long it'll take until our next conversation. So until then, sleep tight and just hang in there for me, all right? I felt the same haziness taking me again, the unmistakable pull of hibernation. But beyond that, I felt something else. I felt a presence, a ghostly grip against my incorporeal hand. Like the last tactile memories from our last encounter was being replayed. It was comforting. Then the darkness hit. Equals. 12 years post-hibernation. Another flash of light, and then consciousness. Panic settled, followed by realization and calm. Much faster than the first time. I could hear more from the human's end. Instead of voice talking to me via my own thoughts, it felt and sounded more like I was listening to someone through a staticky radio. Testing, 1, 2. Testing, 3, 4. Can you hear us? I attempted to nod, to say yes again, but as was always the case, the humans seemed to not pick up on it. Your brain activity shows signs of healthy response, so I'll take that as a yes. All right, so, progress report, Vanaran. I think I need to reintroduce myself. Was this a different human? I'm not a different human, by the way. Just to get that out of the way, I just wanted to say I got a promotion. I'm now Lieutenant Commander Elijah Skylar Banes. And guess what? I'm now head of operations on Hibernation, Conduit 27A. A lot will change under my command here. I'm having your hibernation pod cleaned twice weekly instead of once, for instance. Anyways, Dash. The sheer energy from his voice was draining. Perhaps it would be prudent to roll back whatever technology you're using to the previous, less abrasive version, human. On to the topics at hand. So it's been 7 more years since the last time we spoke. A total of 12 years now. The situation on the front is still unervingly silent. Cosmic background radiation is intensifying, but we're receiving strong gravitational anomalies from neighboring galaxies 37X and 39X. Our forces are stretched thin, so we're sending some forward unmanned scouts there. Hopefully we'll get something concrete. Oh, and remember how I told you about the disturbing findings we found from your elders' homeworld? Well, as soon as we tried to dig further, all the evidence we gathered just disappeared? I don't know how. We think it might be a sort of matter self-destruct sequencer preventing tampering. Anyways, we only skimmed the surface, and like I said, it alludes to these tampers being out there, but nothing concrete yet. What is it, Mitchell? Again? Right, sorry, we have yet another situation. Our conversations must unfortunately be cut short. Any new memories made in this state runs a risk of overriding your actual long-term memories. So we'll leave it here. Signing off. The flash of light was barely evident now, and the same could be said for the disorientation. Hello there. Commander Elijah Skylar Banes here. So, let's cut to the chase, my friend. It's been another 10 years, and we found them. His voice was clearer this time, the technology clearly having improved, but I could also hear the sense of severity growing ever stronger in his tone and the way he carried himself. Either age was doing this to him, or whatever situation out there was. They're not your typical sapients. And yes, I did say sapients, plural. There are multiple of them. We count a total of 2 distinct sides, as it were. I hazard to use the term factions or alliances or even cohesive entities. God only knows just one singular species of this magnitude is enough to wrap my head around. And they're certainly not happy about our tampering. Let's just put it that way. We figure out they more than likely are the ones behind the arbitrary nature of your hibernative cycles. We're still figuring it out, but that's the theory we're working on here. The beings he spoke of, it was akin to the legends, the myth of creation, or rather, one of our old deities that had the power over our hibernation patterns. They're at war with one another, have been, for the past God knows how long. Our guess for why they're keeping you guys asleep during this is a sort of mercy. They don't want you to see what goes bump in the dark, and the destroyed records from 10 years ago proves it too. We've concluded from what scraps remained that it was a contract, a deal of sorts. I think, or, well, we think that there might have been a deal struck hundreds of millions of years ago. One that I think they'll force us to sign too. A deal? Fuck, gotta go. Even after 10 years, the fucking thing threatens to override your memories. Until then, please stay safe, human. Signing off. Equals. 54 years post-hibernation. Hey there, friend. Hello again, human. Captain Elijah Skylar Banes here. It's been a while, hasn't it? I wish I could crack jokes or laugh like I did before, but let's just cut right to the chase. I've been busy. Hibernation, Conway 27A, and others like it are under my authority now. But I've been busy coordinating the preparations for a defensive line along this sector, along with many others. We're expecting an attack any time now. You won't believe the shit we've seen with our sensors. It's invisible to the naked eye, heck, even with early stellar sensor arrays. But we've been developing at breakneck speeds. And we see it now. We see the universe for what it is now. But I'll be damned if humanity is going to back down from a fight, even if it is against some self-proclaimed cosmic horrors. Every sapient bleeds, every mortal bleeds, even ones that act like they're more than mortal. I'll also be blunt with this little revelation. Your elders have been lying all this time. They agreed to let's just say a cosmic timeshare. You get your few years in the sun, then these fuckers get the rest. Gallivanting, warring just to feel a rush of something after the taste of immortality became too much for them to handle. I don't understand. Listen, there's more to it, but I don't have much time. I don't know when I can talk to you next. But hopefully, our next conversation will be one that's more fruitful. Heck, maybe I'll even decant you the next time we talk. Heh, I've enjoyed our talks, Vanaran. Maybe next time you can tell me your name in person. I will, human. I will. Until then, signing off. Damn it, Mitchell, I said sign off dash. Equals. Not applicable years post-hibernation. The next interruption to the darkness was one that gave me whiplash. It was more akin to the first connection than any other previous one. It felt jarring. My head felt like it was about to explode. But then I heard his voice. And instead of the calm, excitable, or even dour one from before, all I could hear was dread. An unmistakable air of dread. So it's been a while. Mitchell's gone. Most of my men are gone. I'm the last one here on this rock. I don't even know why I'm doing this. It's not like you can hear me. Not like your dash. I can hear you, human. I'm here. Oh, so it worked. What? I can finally tell if you say yes or no. That's wonderful. Years of active study. And this is what it gets us. He laughed. But it wasn't the same laughter from before. It was tainted. I'm so scared, Vanaran. I'm so fucking scared they're after us now. They've overwhelmed our front lines here in your galaxy. And they're threatening to breach the middle and backlands too. For the record, we're near the front, and most of the evac processes have been FUBR'd. I voted to stay, though, to see this project to the end. I made a promise, remember? That I'd be here for you to the end? Yes, you did. I won't let you die alone, buddy. Human, you don't have to. I won't let you die in the dark. Elijah, please. You deserve the dignity of dying awake, or at least as close to awake as possible. Listen to yourself. Stay with me, all right? I will. Fuck. It's happening again. What? You don't go okay? Where else would I go, human? Oh, I felt it again. The pull of hibernation. It felt stronger somehow, like some outside force was forcing a duffel bag over my head and cinching it tight. I think they're close, but you gotta stay with me. You can't die in the dark. I won't let you. I won't let dash. I lost my grip, my footing, and I fell. I fell down deep into the dark abyss, from which what world I would awake to, if ever. I was falling. I had no recollection of how, or when, or even what or where I was, but there was that unmistakable feeling of a sudden loss of balance, followed by a loss of footing, and then pure nausea. It felt as if I'd fallen off a flight of stairs, or off the ledge of a balcony. This was followed by a sudden gut-wrenching anticipation, as I could feel the ground rapidly approaching, faster and faster, only to stop and to feel my heart drop as my eyes opened up. My eyes opened up. This meant, rise and shine, Vanaran, rise and shine. A voice greeted me, an unfamiliar one raspy and strained. It was a voice that sounded nothing like the young and jovial, severe and ponderous, than panic-ridden but determined ones that had been my only tether to the real world during my great slumber. Panic settled in as I attempted to scurry away, but to no avail. My eyes struggled to focus. The creature in front of me was about my size, and yet I felt as if it towered over me. Being in this weakened state, I couldn't do much. I could barely even speak as my body attempted to right itself. An adrenaline rush. This early on in hibernation wake cycle wasn't healthy. In fact, it wasn't recommended. But it seemed as if the creature in front of me knew that, as additional servitors approached, ones not of our make or model, they grappled with my weakened form, inserting needles and tubes as I bellowed out in silent wails of pain. And then I felt it. I felt a sudden surge of energy hit me as the adrenaline dissipated, my mind clearing and my motor functions returning. They'd mimicked our sleep-wake cycle regulators. But how dash? Let's just say we have a promise to keep, dear friend. The creature, no, the human, began standing up from its formerly squatting position supported by its mechanical aids. Its outfit was not too dissimilar from the one that the previous human wore, but it was far more advanced. I could feel the latent energy of a shield belt radiating from it. Not to mention it looked a lot more. You're looking at my combat ribbons? The human spoke. I suppose. I answered back, my voice raspy and gravely from however many years I'd hibernated for. Yeah, they do accumulate. You tend to get a lot from 140 years of constant war and special operations. The man chuckled. Before coughing wildly, one of his mechanical attendants quickly handed him a cloth as the human began to cough into it. Even with my blurry vision, I could see a distinct crimson color staining the otherwise white fabric, as it was quickly tucked away. I suppose you don't recognize me, old friend? I didn't respond, as I began to move slowly, testing the limits of my body as I anticipated the usual bouts of extreme pain and cramping, but none came. Instead, what had replaced the expected pain and cramping was a sense of unencumbered mobility that felt as if I'd just risen from a minor blackout, rather than a complete hibernative cycle. It didn't feel real, and what's more, the entire situation didn't feel real. Must still be confused, the human mumbled to himself, before turning around towards an unseen figure. Hey, Mitchell, get your ass over here, why don't you? He yelled. An air of authority was still noticeable in his voice despite his age. Indeed, it held a distinct familiarity that I just couldn't put my finger on. Wait, could it be? Elijah, stop acting like it's the early 3400S. Get one of my interns to check up on him. Elijah? No, it couldn't. Mitch, come on, don't be like that. Didn't you say you'd make the effort? I mean, that's the least you could do after probing around his head for the past fucking century. Another human soon came into view. This one levitated on some sort of a half-wheel vehicle that stopped just mere inches away from me. He held a device in his hands, pointed at my eyes, as sharp flashes of light seared into my skull. Ack, what trickery is dash? The human turned away from me, only to address its superior. He's perfectly fine, Eli. No need to worry about any potential neurological aberrancies, making a mess of your decades-long talks. Heck, I bet the poor soul's probably sick and tired of hell in back of your voice. Never change, Mitch. Never change. Go on, introduce yourself. Reluctantly, this Mitchell turned to face me once more, holding out a wrinkled hand and forcing his teeth out to bear, a gesture which I instinctively recoiled from. Oh, it's one of those aliens. Okay, no smiles, got it. His face contorted to one much more amiable. Hello, Vanaran. Elijah and I have been waiting for this moment for a long while now. I'm Dr. Mitchell Burgundy, former director of the Institute for Xenobiological Studies, current principal advisor to the science director of the United Nations Science Council. But you'll perhaps be more acquainted with my former title, head scientist aboard Hibernation, Conduit 27A. I blinked rapidly, my dual eyelids twitching to and fro, as I replied simply and earnestly, "I'm sorry, but none of that rings a bell." Mitchell sighed, turning back to the other human, as I sensed the early warning signs of a verbal altercation. So I intervened. But while I am unacquainted with your titles, I certainly have heard of your name, Mitchell. I've heard Elijah talk a great many things about you. This brought the elderly man's eyes to life as he turned back to face me. He has? Ah, well, that's more like it. What did he dash? Mitch, you said we don't have much time. Can this wait? You know as well as I that none of this can wait, but fine, he's all yours, boss. The man quickly slunk back into the darkness of the hibernation chamber and onto an attached gangway. This left just me and this elderly human alone, save for the few robot tenders that had remained. Captain Elijah? I practically mumbled out, my mind refusing to believe the discordance brewing inside me. Not quite, my friend. Elijah spoke, his voice cracking for a moment as he stepped towards me. It's Admiral Elijah Skylar Banes now. He attempted to mimic the energetic and youthful vigor of our now decades-old conversations. Commander of the Fifth Fleet. He chuckled. Heh, it rolls off the tongue much better than my previous titles, I'll tell you. A moment of silence filled the air, Elijah seizing the opportunity to raise his hand towards me in a strange gesture. I don't think I ever got your name, friend. I stared at the hand for a moment. My mind took stock of the gesture for the longest while, before I finally figured what it meant. A fluttering of my frills made it evident that what I was about to do was being done with no intent of offense, as I took his hand in my own and gripped it. My name is Lysara Parfundanir of the Dinari clan. I spoke nervously, as memories of our promises across the decades entered the forefront of my mind yet again. He held my hand for what felt like an eternity, both of us gazing into one another's eyes. His bright, vibrant eyes, locked away in a now wrinkled and disheveled form, the softness of his hands that I distinctly recall from our last interaction was all but gone, replaced by the hard, wrinkled, and calloused hands of a man now far into his years. It was then, and only then, that I realized the cruelty that was time. What felt like a series of disjointed conversations to me was more than likely an entire lifetime for the human. An entire lifetime without the guarantee of immortality, and judging from the crimson-stained cloths, providing they did bleed red like us, a lifetime dedicated to the greatest honor of all, the adherence to an oath till death. You fulfilled your end of the oath, dear friend. I squeezed his hand tighter as I spoke. Thank you for being my light in the dark. Despite not having truly talked, I feel as if a bond beyond normal comprehension exists between our two souls. The human seemed to nod at that, as he gestured for me to follow. We have much to discuss about Lysara, and very little time to do it. With a considerable effort on my end, I got to my feet, quickly following the human out of the hibernation airlocks and into a familiarly unfamiliar world. At first glance, all seemed to be in place. The halls were as I had left them. The lights were where they should be, as were the computer terminals and hollow projectors. Yet none of it was right. The lights were replaced with ones that shone too brightly. The hollow projectors displayed human scripts, text, and other bizarre readings. It was as if I'd awoken to a reality soaked and drenched in humanity's reach and influence, which was to be expected, but never to this degree, and most certainly never to this extent. If Elijah's time frame was to be believed. How long has it been, Elijah? Oh, 170, maybe 180 years? Give or take a few decades. You know how time can be. Just under 200 years. And they've managed to penetrate this deep into Vanaran space. Let's walk and talk, Lysara. The human interrupted, bringing me fully out of my bout of introspection as I nodded in response. So let's get you up to speed. I'm going to assume you're curious as to how I'm standing here. Must think it's some dream or something, right?